Let's begin now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Golf Bag podcast. Tonight, we'll be breaking down the Waste Management Phoenix Open for the PGA Tour being played at TPC Scottsdale in Scottsdale, Arizona. Tonight, I got Axis with me. I'm Drew, as always, and we will be giving you a quick breakdown of the golf course, giving you some ideas and some stats, the best way to navigate this field. And then we'll be breaking down the Draftkings pricing and giving you our kind of top end plays throughout the pricing, high to low, and if there's any fades or anything noteworthy with the players this week, we'll give you some insight there. So I'll go ahead and bring in Axis, who was able to do a solo recap pod yesterday. I think he hit Leishman outright and had a nice cash weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So how are you feeling today, man?
It was a glorious Sunday, yeah. Leishman was 61-1. Our Knox with T5'd it over in Europe. He was 100-1 outright, and then another solid weekend in cash, which I put my cash lineup review out, which is free for anybody to read as well. If you want to see how I came to my mostly poor choices, but nailed Leishman in the cash lineup, so went a long way.
Yeah, that was nice. I mean, I don't think anyone expected him to come back. I mean, I think he would hit like 30% of his fairways. Obviously not going to go into a full recap. You have that show on Sunday nights. But I did think when we were looking at the overnight leaders from the European Tour, thought there might be some leverage there with like Perez coming up, who was looking really solid, and he completely blew up. But definitely didn't think Rahm would spit the bit, and was hoping he could pull it off along with Perez. There was some doubles there. And, we got Leishman. And then you had, was it Herbert? Australian.
Arnaus. I didn't.
No. I'm saying Herbert won.
Also
Aussie
Australian,
Day. So double Aussies. You could have done a double on that.
And I think someone said it was like Australia Day in Australia.
It was, yeah. I figured. Oh, well.
Moving on. Those narratives. Whew.
Yeah, and it was a fun week though overall. I mean, just quickly to cap it off. I mean, Tiger Woods, having him in contention, Rory and Rahm both playing pretty well, except for Rahm on Sunday to start off, and then Leishman to basically pull it out. So a pretty strong leaderboard. A couple bad MCs when you go down the list, and a couple of them playing this week, which I'm sure we will discuss. So. As we transition, we'll go ahead and move into the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We won't delay any further. Again, being played at TPC Scottsdale. I'll give a quick overview of the golf course, and then I think Axis has some course insights on what we can look at that's a little bit more predictive for picking out your players, key stats, etc. this week. So, like I said, TPC Scottsdale, it's a par 71, 7,261 yards. The whole golf course is Bermuda, but I think it's still overseeded with rye. At least that's what my notes have. Overseeded rye. It could be dormant. I've seen different pictures, so I'm not sure if you've seen that, Axis, but this time of year, usually it's still dormant, so it should be overseeded ryegrass. Scoring average, 70.51, so about half a shot under par. Driving accuracy, 56%, so a little bit lower on the totem pole there. Green regulation, 67%, so a bit high, probably in line with PGA Tour average. Driving distance, 300, pretty high. And then we got the average proximity with the average approach shot distances, 152 yards to an average approach distance of 38 feet. So they're not really sticking it very close on this golf course. Winners in the past, we saw Rickie Fowler win last year. Gary Woodland, Hideki's won here twice. And the winning score has always been right around 15 to 18 under par. So it won't be crazy low scoring, but it should be enough birdie making that we can get a decent feel if we look at birdie or better and stuff like that this week. So I'll kick it over to Axis and see if he has any insight on what he saw in his database for the golf course.
Yeah, and first thing about the course, if you're going to look back at last year, just remember there was some weather that affected the outcome of that tournament, and especially on Sunday, it was pretty gross if you recall watching.
Like rainy, right?
So yeah, it was I mean, Rickie didn't play that well to begin. I think Grace was the one making an absolute charge.
Yeah.
He kind of crapped himself at the end there. But just remember that if you're looking and you think things look odd, then that's why you don't look at just a couple rounds anyway. But just keep that in mind. So TPC Scottsdale, when I run all the numbers for course fit, for me anyway, from what I'm looking at, it is the second most advantageous to off the tee, only behind Quail Hollow. So you can make ground up here with your driver. Like there are, compared to other courses, you can start to pull away with that club. Approach is a little more important than at Quail Hollow, but I do think that's probably a decent comp if you're looking for the type of golfers that can excel at Scottsdale. The rough is actually more penal to be not in the fairway at Scottsdale, even more so than last week. And I talked about that on the solo pod as to why that was last week. So you can just go listen to that for more in-depth. Essentially, that course, Torrey Pines, is hard from the fairway and the rough. So guys are making par from both. Here, if you're not in the fairway, you are costing yourself much easier birdie opportunities. And I believe I went through 2018's data because I didn't want to look at last year with the weather. In 2018, every hole outside the par threes played under par from the fairway. So you really want to be there. Now, that doesn't mean you, again, don't just go filter by accuracy. That's not necessarily what I'm telling you, but I don't know if I'd want to play guys who are just consistently playing from the rough. However, just bomb it down there. It is, again, off the tee, really big here. And most of your approach shots, I think the key range this week will be from 150 to 175. So that's where I'll be looking for Scottsdale this week.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of the same. It's fairly a standard week. Coming from last week, really the last 2 weeks with some course rotations. Obviously, the data is limited for 2 tournaments. But I think we got a good pulse on where guys stand when looking at off the tee and approach. So this week is probably going to be the closest to a standard week. No course rotations, so plenty of course history if you guys are interested in that. Obviously, like guys, noteworthy guys like a Finau who's had 3 missed cuts in a row now at this event, even with good form coming in. Gary Woodland with good course history, Kuchar, etc. So there's a lot to glean from the data, both in course history terms and in recent form. But it'll probably be a pretty standard week for me this week. I guess I'll bump up driving accuracy a bit. Greener regulation is always high, but I guess that combo of adding a little bit of driving accuracy, which off the tee kind of accounts for, I guess, but it's not 100%. Like, I think off the tee gives a little more weight to distance than accuracy. So in that regard...
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah, so in that regard, bumping both up a little bit, so using off the tee but bumping up accuracy, will kind of weed out the guys that are just bombing it but spraying it slightly. Not really spraying it, but not being the most accurate. I think that'll probably be a good cushion.
Yeah, I just filter by... On our rolling stats, you can filter by the weighted driving accuracy, so that accounts for field difficulty. So it's a little more accurate than just saying a guy. If you look last week, it's like, oh, he only hit 50% of greens or fairways. So that's not that bad at Torrey Pines, but that would be not great this week, say. So I'd look at off the tee, and if you really want to break it down, I would look at some weighted driving accuracy. I still wouldn't weight it all that much. I'd still prefer distance over accuracy. I just wanted to share what I had found with the fairways and the rough here. Basically, you can do a lot of damage from the fairways. So, Victor Hovland should actually fit this very well. I mean, he bombs it and he's extremely accurate. So he's the most accurate in the field, I believe, as far as weighted goes. Just kidding. There's a few above him like Ches, which is probably explains why Ches does well here despite not being long. Because he's playing from the fairway. So.
Yeah, and it's not a crazy long golf course, too. Par 71, 7,200 yards.
No, it's not. It just allows the bombers to get so close.
Correct, yeah. Before we go into the actual DraftKings pricing, though, because I'm curious your take, and I'm probably indifferent, and I don't have any data on the guys transitioning. When you look at like Bryson, you talked about Hovland. I don't know if anyone else is coming over, but where are you at for guys making that trek back from Dubai?
I guess you can consider it, but the only data I have on it is when I've looked at going from the John Deere to the British Open. And I know that's not quite the same, but it's as similar as I actually have looked into. And maybe there's enough golfers now who have done this trip back and forth, whether it's from Middle East to LA or San Diego for Torrey Pines, or the opposite, going from here to there. Maybe there's enough guys over the last couple of years now, but I haven't done that. However, I've seen it does affect golfers going from John Deere to the British Open. Now, we've also seen Jordan Spieth win one and then the other. So playing one, yeah. So to say that it's not like nothing certain in golf. Yes, I think it does affect them.
Yeah.
However,
they're too good.
This day and age, they're more athletic. They have condos in these Emirate planes that they're flying. Like, it's not the end of the world. Sure, your body is still affected by the time zone change and whatever, but I think people are more adept to it. But I do think there is definitely evidence of it affecting golfers going from states to the British Open, as opposed to playing in the Scottish Open before that. So take that for what it is. I have no idea if that will affect anybody this week.
I'm sure everyone's different. I was just curious because it's just an added thought, I guess. But I mean, there's what has DJ done with like coming from the British Open to the Canadian Open? He's won that like 2 times now.
I said, I mean,
similar.
The effect seemed more coming from the States going to
Correct.
the Open, but again, maybe, and that's compared to baseline, so it wasn't just like worse golfers going there, but it was comparing guys' baselines who went there, stayed here, yada, yada, yada. And someone else broke it down even better than me. I don't know where to find that on the internet, but that's what made me look at it. So,
okay. All right,
that's where I'd stand. I don't know if I'll weight it all that much, but something
I don't
to
think.
consider.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to bring it up as like to pull people off. I was just curious if you had any hard takes.
It would only affect me for Hovland because I don't really anticipate having interest in DeChambeau.
Yeah.
But even Hovland, he's definitely come down from his peak, but the course should set up very well for him.
I agree. All right, let's go ahead and move into the pricing. And we will start with the 10K and up, and then we'll hit the 9s, 8s, 7s, and 6s. Just like we normally do. We'll try to keep it short and sweet and kind of hit on the high points that the guys that we like each week, specifically this week, obviously. So we'll start up here. You got Rahm coming off of last week's showing, Justin Thomas, Rickie Fowler, Webb Simpson, Hideki Matsuyama. I think there was some signs of some bad golf coming from Rahm last week. I wouldn't say, like, in GPPs again, I know that was one of the feedback we had from your poll from the Christmas time frame, looking at what we can do differently or add or subtract from the podcast. And one was kind of talking more cash versus GPP. But I will say, Rahm last week, there were some signs that his ball striking wasn't where he wanted to be. Now, could he turn around at a course where his worst finish is a 16th in 4 showings? Probably. But at his price, that's a little bit tough for me. I would much rather go down to a JT who, honestly, guys at his level don't play this event very much. And it's surprising he's played here for 5 years in a row. This will be his 6th. So he's probably got the most interest to me. I don't mind Hideki. He's probably got the best course history out of all these guys. And then you talk about Fowler, 10-5. That's a big no for me. You look at what he did last year where he won. He gained 9 strokes putting. I think he likes the golf course, but for the price that you're paying and the guys that are around him, I think I would rather lean towards a Hideki or a JT that Hideki probably, arguably probably doesn't have the same win equity in that grouping, but I do like JT. And then at the bottom there, Webb's probably fine for cash. He's going to make the cut most likely. He's probably the safest one.
Yeah, for me, Rom and JT are basically identical. I rate them. I have Rom overall slightly higher right now, but I think I don't know. That's tough. If you made me, I could talk about that for a while too on who's the better golfer. They're both on a complete tear. If you go look at recent finishes for both of them, I don't know. I don't know where I side this week yet on these two. I feel like if there was any inkling that one was going to be 5-ish% lower than the other one, maybe I'd just use them in GPPs. I don't think I'll be using either of them in cash. Just the price makes me have to go too far down. But yeah, I mean, last week Ron played pretty well, except for putt. He couldn't putt to save his life. He struggled a little bit to start the last round. So did Rory. I don't know. Maybe it was just the wet, cold conditions. I can't really say, but he was terrible on the greens last week. I'm not really afraid to play Rom this week. I'm not afraid to play JT for the same reason. I won't be using Fowler this week. It's mainly the price. I mean, his game, it is what it is. He's not going to be that great with the irons. He's going to make up for it in putting. I'd rather play Webb Simpson or even potentially Hideki, but I think if I was going to spend up, it'd be Rom or JT, and you could talk me into playing either of them.
Yeah, Rom really. I think the just looking at his round 2 and round 4. Let's see. So, yeah, round 2 lost 0.8 strokes on approach, gained 0.3 off the tee, and then round 4 lost 2 strokes around the green, mainly because of that double bogey. Gained about 1.5 strokes ball striking. So not awful. It just didn't seem as nice as some of the other studs near the top of the leaderboard. So that was a little bit why I just feel like I give the bump a little bit to JT. And for a course like this, you talk about driving distance with accuracy. Rom's there too, but that's why they're both priced up here. JT would be my lean just slightly.
I actually need to correct myself. I completely misspoke. I was looking at JT's last event, talking about the terrible putting. He putted terribly at Sony. Rom actually putted very well at Farmers, so that was my mistake. I was completely looking at. I flip-flopped the guys' names with the data, so ignore what I just said. Play either of them.
I do think the Farmers data can be misconstrued a bit from because it's POA. I mean, you look at Leishman gained 8 strokes putting, Rahm gained 6 strokes putting. Both made a lot of putts and gained strokes, obviously, but I do think there's such a polarizing effect on POA that I think he putted well. 6 strokes putting on a normal week, we'll say, at the Valspar or something, that's like absurd. So I'll give you a little bit of leeway there. But yeah, JT was the one at Sony after the win that it was a big letdown for people. So let's move down into the 9K range. Still haven't got to the good range. So we'll start up here. You got Xander at 9,900. He's played here twice. Again, it seems like a lot of the top guys play really well here. So I don't know what the correlation is when you look at world rankings, but if you look at the top of the board, all these guys have had top 5s, top 10s at least. Xander and Kuchar are no exception. So you got Kuchar there, Finau. Woodland obviously coming off of the miscut that burned everybody. Got it back a little bit Friday. Morikawa, who's turning into a little mini Sungjae. I think he's played for, 4 weeks? This will be his 4th week in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And what's your thoughts up here? Bubba finally showing some light. So where are you going in this range?
It will not be Bubba Watson for the longtime listeners. Not a fan. But I guess this is the place to play him. And if you see the form coming, sure. I prefer Xander at 9,900. The off the tee, the approach, just overall game. He's flashed here before. A very solid birdie bogey ratio. Normally, I feel like I'd get sucked into Finau at 9,600. I guess I still potentially could. I'd rather spend the 300. Gary Woodland coming off a missed cut. You could talk me into him again, no problem. Whatever. He had 2 two or more or less kind of the one round that really cost him. But I can get over that at 9,300. He fits the course very well. But I think I would play. I feel like I play Morikawa every week. He got a $300 bump this week. Just, I don't know. Very good golfer, and he has been exceptional from this 150, 175 range where you're going to see a lot of shots from. So he's a little shorter off the tee, but he makes up for that with the iron play, and he still gains pretty well off the tee. So I believe he is 90 or 81st percentile in the field, so still far above average.
Yeah, Morikawa is definitely in play for me. We saw him last week. I mean, and not trying to use just really close recent form, but I mean, he's been very good for a while, obviously since the last season. But you look at last week's results, and he really, like, round 3 was bad. He still had 4 birdies, but with the two doubles and 2 bogeys, that really kind of put him behind the 8 ball. He only lost, 0.3 strokes ball striking during that round, and he played awful. You look at round 2, he gained almost 4 strokes ball striking. You look at round 4, he gained another 1.5 or 1.25 strokes ball striking. So I think Morikawa is in superb shape. I think he fits the golf course well. He's accurate, long. His irons are great, like you mentioned. He'll probably be one of those where when you look in this range, I feel like the ownership should be spread out a little bit. I guess guys will tend to come off of Xander and Finau. Finau coming off of just miscut after miscut at this course. He's probably the most interesting to me in GPPs with the ownership being artificially low just off of his course history. I don't like last year. I looked at his results last year. He lost 4.5 strokes putting in 2 rounds to miss the cut. Like, I don't really see a reason why that should continue. Ball striking looks fine. He played well last week to finish 6th, 14th the week before that, and 5th the week before that. I probably have the most interest in tournaments to Finau. I'm fine with Kuchar. He's probably not going to be in my player pool, but I don't have a problem with him or Woodland. But I do think this is one of those ranges where if you're going to make a stand, and there's very few tournaments where there's one range, and I really want to just focus on one guy. But Morikawa is probably that guy for me this week. Even at his price, I think he's going to be a value until he's 10K and hasn't won an event, so like a real event. The Barracuda doesn't count.
Counts for a card at least.
I mean, it counts to him for sure, but for me,
and
give me
for
10K.
My betting outright on him there.
Did you?
Yeah, it was like 14-1. It was silly.
No,
it was I just smashed it that week. Anyway, just humble brag. No big deal.
Well, the second best player there was like Patrick Rogers, so
don't worry about it. I picked a winner, Drew. Doesn't matter if he was the favorite. Bow to me.
It is an interesting range though. We'll go down to the 8K range, but I do think like there's really no recency bias on Woodland off of miscut coming here, but you look at his like results prior to like the last couple of years, I do think he fits the golf course well, but we've seen him kind of have some streaks of downturns. If his ownership is spiking, and I think guys in PGA DFS have gotten sharp enough where, one miscut doesn't dissuade them. He may be one of those pivots where, okay, any shares I would have allocated to Gary Woodland, I move up to Finau at probably a third the ownership and leverage the field. If Finau beats Woodland, I'm in really good shape. Odds say Finau should miss the cut again, but I just don't see it, man. I don't know how.
It's amazing how bad he's been here. It's just crazy to me how terrible he's been at a course that should be right up his alley. I don't know.
Yeah, and comfortable. I mean, he's a ping guy. He goes there a lot. Him and Bubba. That's where they go to get fit. That's where they go when they're testing new equipment. Like, he should be very comfortable. I just don't know why. There's no distractions. I guess maybe the university, right? But he's married with kids. So
pretty sure he's Mormon. I don't think he's out partying.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's no narrative for him, hanging out late at night. This isn't like Vegas at the Shriner. So, that's where I stand. I'll be heavily invested in Morikawa. I love his attitude, man. I think he's a great player. Obviously, stats back it up, and I'm happy to lose my money playing Colin Morikawa this week.
Yeah,
All right, headed down to the 8K range. We got some like interesting values, almost like trap values. First one right off the bat, Sung JM, he continues to make a lot of cuts. I don't know what his cut streak's at right now, but his last 3 events, 21st, 10th, 36 last week, a little bit disappointing. But Poa Greens, I'm not going to worry about that too much. Looking at last week, let's see. Looking at we have a historical strokes gain tool that you can go pull up any tournament in the database and pull up their stats. So, yeah, Sungjae lost 3 strokes on approach, but they were all lost on the final round. So, not going to look into that too much. I do think he's an interesting value. Finished 7th here last year. Scotty Scheffler miscut last week. Again, a guy that I feel like he's underpriced relative to this range. And Hovland's kind of in that same boat. I do think Reeve, Palmer, Reeve hasn't been playing great. He's just got good course history. Palmer played well. I think he's priced right. But again, this is like I said, this is one of those events where in the ranges, I feel like people are going to flock using the course history. And I would like to, find a couple guys and really plant my flag. So for me, Scheffler off the miscut, assuming he doesn't get too chalky with Hovland right there. It'll be definitely a Sung JM show, Scheffler Hovland show for me.
Yeah, I'm definitely there with Sung Jae. The 8,800 price seems kind of ridiculous. Really good off the tee. Irons are whatever. He's good enough, though, to get the job done. 8,800 definitely seems a little cheap. Like I said, I really have to decide what I'm going to do with Hovland, but I think he's definitely in play. And Ches is also in play for me. The iron play is great. The off the tee is at least positive. It's not negative. He's played well here. And when I pulled the data from last year, he was 3rd best from this key range. I think there's a lot to like there. Obviously, like you said, hasn't been playing that great. I don't know if he's definitely scary for a cash game type, but I think he's definitely GPP viable, although he might be popular. And then the one to play in GPPs here might be Brendan Grace. And I was very hard on him last year. I made it a point to bring up how awful he was playing, how he was falling down in the world ranking. Maybe it was just the comfort of home. He found something over there playing in South Africa near the end of the year, early year for the European Tour swing. But he's back over here. He's the one who pushed Rickie at the end last year. I think Brendan Grace could be worth some shares if you're making 20-plus lineups this week. Wouldn't tempt fate with cash or single entry myself, but if you have more balls than me, maybe you will do that as well.
Interesting. Let's see here.
But aside from that, I don't know. I'm sure Matthew Woolf at $8,000 will be very popular.
Yeah.
Played here. I think he was still an amateur when he played here last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was. He was still an amateur, but very good off the tee. Again, another guy whose game can fit this course. Ability to go low, make birdies, 8K. I assume Matthew Woolf will be very popular as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he should be. I've heard some chatter around Cameron Smith. I'm not quick to jump on the Cameron Smith train. We've seen he's very volatile, so I'm perfectly fine passing on that. I guess the one interesting one is looking at, you mentioned Brandon Grace, but if you look at Spieth, and we had an interesting conversation in our members Slack chat this weekend when we talked about guys, or we talked specifically Spieth coming from the weekend, or from the Thursday, Friday rounds into the weekend, and somehow he's shooting 65, 67 to somewhat be in contention, making a ton of birdies. His DK points are through the roof, and then he blows up on the weekend. Like last week, he had 15 birdies and 14 bogeys. Pretty crazy, considering he hit less than 50% of his fairways and only 60% of his greens. So he might be an interesting one when you look at GPPs. Like, he's going to continue to get low ownership, and his scoring is good. Like, I will admit, like, when you look at the way he's scoring, if this is going to be one of those events where he makes a ton of birdies, he hits in the water a couple holes, it could be worthwhile to plug him in some GPPs in this chalk range. So he's probably on my list. It won't be a high exposure because I don't think you'll need it anyways. But it is interesting to note his scoring since last season, even when he's been playing so bad, he's been making, chip in birdies regardless. The dude's been making a lot of birdies, which adds up to a lot of scoring, especially considering the winning score will probably be around 15 under par. So,
yeah, I don't really have a Spieth take this week, but I totally agree, and that's kind of what I had brought up was despite how he has played, he has scored. So if he can just make the weekend for you, who knows?
Exactly, yeah. So, all right, let's move down into the 7K range, moving along pretty nicely. I know we've already had this question in Slack chat a few times. I think it was it Luke? Was it Burgess, I think, a couple times, maybe Orange Man and Ronnie Lee. It is still Daniel Berger season. So sign me up for some Daniel Berger. He's got 3 top 11s here in his last 5 years. Obviously a miscut last year. He's still kind of nursing his wrist injury, I think, his third event back. And coming in with some pretty good form. We looked at the Sony Open, gained 5 strokes ball striking, 2 off the tee, 2.5 approach, and he also gained 4 strokes, 4.5 strokes ball striking at the American Express, lost putting cumulatively almost 4 strokes. So with those 2 events. So yeah, Daniel Berger is still firmly in play for me. I need to start just making sure I bet him outright because whether it's going to be now or the St. Jude Classic, he's going to win sometime soon. I don't have many people in my brand access, but for the
Is
one
he qualified for St. Jude now that's a WGC? I don't think he is, so he'll have to do some work for you to get there.
So he'll win before that. So I just need to
there you go. That could get him in.
Lay him out all the dollars prior to that. So this week I'll allocate 15%, and we should be good to go. But all jokes aside, I think he's certainly in play. Corey Connors, like this range here is going to be good for me. Kokrak I like quite a bit. If you look at our Spectrum data, so again, I kind of mentioned this in our chat with our data versus what the PGA Tour keeps. We try to provide more accurate data than what the PGA Tour provides to other websites, etc. And Kokrak was one of the guys that had the biggest differential between last week's PGA Tour, quote-unquote, results and our actual stats. So Kokrak does look good to me, 31st, 20th the last 2 years, and I think we did talk about it a lot last year, and you weren't a huge fan, but Kokrak was a different player last year. So I do like him there. Knox was on that Spectrum list as well of data that was incorrect from the PGA Tour. And he gets a nice bump. Keegan Bradley, man, this whole range I think is pretty much in play for me when we look at 75 and up. Kevin Na probably a miss. Andrew Putnam is tough for me on this type of golf course. But any thoughts from you in this tier?
Yeah, it was actually funny with Kokrak. I actually started playing him near the end of the year when his price started coming back down a little bit. No, I definitely missed his
9Ks.
His great run there in April. I just really wasn't buying it, but good for him. He stayed pretty consistent, and I got something out of it near the end of the year. He finished 8th at the WGC. I think I had a little bit, but I'm definitely there this week again. I like the price. He was the top-rated golfer from this range all of 2019 plus whatever events we have had in 2020. I am on Corey Connors as well. I bet Corey Connors at 8-1 or 880 to 1. He is 8-1 to make a 10-foot putt. So hopefully he can sink a few of those this week because I like both of them. Byung-Hung An 7.6. I bet him as well. Another guy who just tilting. These are the guys that make you learn to just not look at Shot Tracker at all. So cross your fingers. I think they're very good plays for their price range. And then the one for me this week, and I was so tempted to play him last week. I talked about him, was Russell Knox, and I didn't play him last week due to his lack of length.
Yeah.
And I only played one lineup last week, though. So multiple lineups this week. I think I'll risk it. Again, he is also, I think he finished 5th in the this key yardage range that they're going to see a lot of this week. Even the shorter hitters are going to see a lot of this range. So I think I can get behind Russell Knox again at 7,700. And his irons have just been extremely good this season. So the fact that he's not long, he is losing strokes off the tee, like that is just a byproduct of it. But the iron play has just been superb dating back, I don't know, almost all of last year. Like, honestly, his big deficiency is off the tee. And surprisingly enough, I talked about it in the recap pod, he actually gained strokes off the tee last week. So who knows? There's a chance he could do it again, at least just be around zero, not a ton negative. And I think his iron game could carry him. But that's kind of who I'm looking at in the upper sevens. If you bounce to the lower sevens, he burned me last week, but I think I could get back in on some Lanto Griffin, some Sebastian Munoz, guys like that. Billy Horschel is suddenly down in the low sevens again after his 3 straight terrible tournaments, which I did not end up playing him last week. Thank goodness. I could not get burned 3 straight weeks, but I definitely like the upper 7K range more than the lower, but it'd be Griffin and Munoz down there for me. Maybe I didn't play him last week. Maybe twist my arm into 7,300 Grio.
Yeah. I guess if you definitely had to, it wouldn't be the worst thing. For me, I think the go-tos down here is going to be Hoagie. Tom Hoagie's been playing really good. His approach looks good. For the first week since the Sony, he has not popped on the Spectrum data from obviously the difference with the PGA Tour. So like you can get a glimpse of this data with the EAP sheet that Skylar puts out every week, Golf Guru. So you can check that out, and that gives you a good idea of where guys are landing. Charley Hoffman gets a little bit of a bump. He is at 7,400. Probably going to be...
I guess I should have mentioned old Chuck.
I mean...
I bet him at 140, but that's mainly going to be for a top 10. I don't know. He's been up there a lot on those irons, so if he can get anything with the rest of his game going.
He was up on our data, the Sony Open, even with the miscut, the American Express, and then last week. So he's been trending the right direction for a while, so it's finally nice to see it pop. He's made a ton of cuts here. The upside looks like it's limited, but he is playing really well, even better than the PGA Tour shows. So he's very interesting. The Hoagie guy, Hoagie's just been unreal with his irons. That's been very impressive. I've been waiting for that to kind of come to a screeching halt, but he continues to play really well. Any interest in Harris English at 7,300, a guy that kind of burned me last week, but I feel like that's got to turn around at some point too. He's been playing too well. He's got a couple decent finishes here, and but he's been a tough one to peg. Like I feel like chalk English, similar to Kokrak. Like when Kokrak gets priced up, it's really tough to go play him. When he's down here, I feel like there's so much room to maneuver. And then when Harris English gets down here and he's not going to be that popular, that feels like it's a little bit of a breathing room too. So, any thoughts on him for you?
Nope. I have not been playing Harris English in the fall really or early winter here, and I will continue to pass on that. If I played anyone else down here, it would be, like I said, I forgot to mention Hoffman, and I also bet Adam Hadwin, who is in this range as well. I was able to pick him off at 150 to 1, which just seemed absurd. So, especially compared to the number I thought he should be at. The game's kind of lacking for him. It was just more of a number thing, but I guess I'd still rather play him than Harris English.
Okay. The last one I'll mention down here that'll be in my player pool, probably going to be Sung Kang. He is actually him and probably McCarthy. McCarthy's been playing well, and he's been doing it with the putter, and we know that, but he's continued to make a lot of birdies, and the DK points wise has done really well. But Sung Kang, if you look at last week, PGA Tour, I think, has him at 0.8 strokes gained on approach. We have him about 250% higher than that. So he's going to be on my list. he's had mixed results at this golf course. A 12th back in 2017 and back-to-back missed cuts with some poor putting mixed in there. So he's probably the last one in that low 7K range that has interest as of now. We can move down into the 6K range. I guess this is probably, even with the field being pretty strong at the top of the range, you got a decent amount of leeway down here, I feel like. So any thoughts from you overall for this tier? Like for me, I'm looking at guys coming off of last week that has the biggest variance for the PGA Tour stats. That's probably what I'll be looking at EAP data. That's always been like a big key point for me when looking at values, is how their EAP data looked the prior week. Mainly because these lower end guys don't have a lot of good long-term history. So looking at near-term adjusted stats is probably the way to go for me. So any specific guys that you like down here? Luke List kind of popped for me a little bit. Kaplan, I don't trust him, but he's been playing well. He actually showed up as being improved from our stats. So any thoughts from you in this range?
Nah, I really don't see myself dipping that low this week. It'll probably be more of a either balance build, or if I play two guys in the 9K, I just might be low 7s. I don't think I'll be down here at all. Maybe Tringali, I guess. Maybe Fratelli. I know he's 7K, but other than that, honestly, there's just not much I feel the need to. The way I've been playing it and the way I've been creating lineups, I'm not MMEing, so there's not much play for me down in this range.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it. I probably, like last week, which we talked about it in our chat, but like there's a couple really cheap values that allowed you to get up to playing both Rahm and Rory. And like, I think, was it Hughes missed by a shot and the other guy missed by 2 shots? Like, it was very close to paying off. And I know Hatchman sent me a DM afterward. He's like, dude, I love the thought process, because especially for a field like that where guys stood out as far as like a class above and probably having the realistic best win equity with good course history, good form coming in, and having the leverage to play 2 cheap guys with, relatively decent odds to make the cut and fit both of them in, would have paid huge dividends, especially if Rahm or McIlroy would have won. They both played great, but those 2 missed the cut and kind of killed those GPP lineups. But I'll probably look into that. So for our members on Wednesday in our article, I'll try to provide some tidbits if that's even possible this week, or if we'll be steering away from the very low 6K range. Any thoughts from you in terms of strategy or final thoughts for this week?
No, not really. Just be focusing in on off the tee. I'll be skewing the ball striking cocktail a little bit more towards off the tee, a little bit of distance and some of those mid-range irons, and cross the fingers.
Cross the fingers. I like it. All right, guys. Well, that'll do it. Hopefully you were able to get through this podcast. Again, fairly short and sweet, under 45 minutes, I think. So if you guys could leave us a rating and a review on iTunes, that's always appreciated. If you're listening on Spotify, Google, Stitcher, anywhere else, always appreciate it, guys. You can always reach out to us on Twitter. You can find me at Red Kachik, Axis at Fantasy Jesus DFS. And all of these content and tools each week, including our stat model and EAP data, you can find at fantasygolfbag.com. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your research. We should be back Wednesday night for the live stream with Jacob at 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/redkachik. Until then, guys, take care, and we will see you Wednesday night.